Can you hear me okay?
Yes, Vanessa.
Yep.
I think so. So I think this is number 5 or number 6 of these lessons. And today we're going to talk about communication with spirits. That's a very interesting topic. I think all of them are super interesting. Very excited to talk about that. So the first thing to talk about when we talk about spirit, communication with spirits, is our understanding of who are spirits, who and what happens with us, with them after the physical death. I think I'll invite everyone to go back to the previous lessons that have more detail about it. But if we think spirits are all of us, we are incarnated spirits. And we call in Spiritism, just for the easiness of comprehension, that incarnated spirits are the soul. But it's the same thing. We are immortal, or we had a beginning. We will not have an end. We are created by God, and we'll continue through the multiple incarnations to evolve ourselves. So this moment that we are here, it's a moment of learning, of evolution, and just, I can say, without not being totally correct, but mostly very correct, that this is just a brief moment in our very long history that we are here incarnated on this planet. And even though we have no memories, and I invite you to listen to that, because there is a very good reason why we have scarce memories of our past. We have a very long history of in our past, and a very eternal history ahead of us. And we will go through this physical death, and what is going to happen? We keep being ourselves. It's something that we are going to lose this clothes that we call the body as we move from summer to winter. Hopefully now we are getting into spring and summer. So we move from this very heavy clothes we use in winter to the spring and summer ones. And we're just changing when we move from this the physical death. We're changing, we are losing this heavy physical body that we have. But with our essence doesn't change. Our souls or our spirits, we keep thinking. All spirits have continuous thought. That is a characteristic that we keep, and as we keep thinking, we want to communicate with our loved ones as the same as we wanted before. It's not that we lose the connections, we have the connections, and we want to communicate. In certain conditions, we are able to visit them, there's a mistake here. We can act upon matter through the perispirit. There's a typo on the through, and we can continue to do it. This through, just to emphasize that we can continue to act upon matter. So there's no reason for us not to believe that if we are the same, we are just changing clothes, why we cannot continue to communicate. But don't we want to do so? We want to communicate with our loved ones in summer, in winter, in spring, throughout the year. So it's just a change. And what it changes is the way we communicate. My uncle, I'm home, so my uncle was saying, I want to talk to my brother. I'm going to send him a message. And he told me, I'm going to have to ask someone to send a message, because this radio, my other uncle died last year, his physical death. So we just need a different channel. I cannot send him a WhatsApp. I have to send a different kind of message, and it's a different kind of communication. One thing is that we learn, a lot of us have some challenges on the possibilities of communicating with the dead, what we call the dead, but it's just us, the spirits without this body. And what we think about is how I'm going to do, how this radio is going to work, how, because most of us don't think this is not possible, because we have some idea of the soul, that is the spirit without the body, the discarnated spirit, that we think about the movies, and I'm old, and you think about the movies, and that they appear as this vaporous thing, the ghosts, and they're always this thing without shape or form and some sort of order. And if you think how this gas thing is going to communicate with anything, if it's kind of interesting to think about that, and you think, I don't think gas can communicate actually. But in reality, what we need to consider is one key aspect that is a key. I think for me, it's the key to understand how all of this happens is throughout our history and for ever and ever, our spirits will be involved by a semi-material body that we call the perispirit. This semi-material body that involves the spirit, the soul, it is not the spirit. It is made of the same original matter that it's a different kind of matter, but it's still matter, constitute a way to make the spirit form a physical individual being. And because it's matter, it's able to come to connect with other matter in a different way or shape. In reality, when the communication is, the perispirits enable the spirit, the thought, to translate into matter, and the matter to translate to another matter. So it becomes way more reasonable that we can communicate. I'll stop here. I don't know if any comments or questions, and I know David has all questions, and I love that, and I don't know if anybody else wants to join and has questions. So.
I mean, I have one question, but I don't know if you're gonna go into it later. But it was like under what conditions do spirits communicate through matter using their perispirit?
We are gonna talk if you hold it for a couple of more minutes, we are gonna talk about it.
Okay, cool.
Because this perispirit, just to emphasize, is it's something that involves the spirit, this vaporous substance. That one thing about the perispirit that people have asked me before is the spirit always, throughout its evolution, we always have the same perispirit, but the perispirit will evolve according to the planet or the environment it is on, and the spirit nature that an evolution that is the perispirit is surrounding. To make it clear, if we are in the beginning of our journey on a world that is not as evolved, it probably will appear much coarse or thicker or whatever it is, heavier, let's put this way, for the lack of better words, because it is required for the spirit on that stage of evolution. As the spirit evolve and go into more towards the path to pure spirits, again, I invite everyone to listen to the session, that will go and becomes more fluid, let's put this way. So we will become less coarse, less heavy, will become lighter, because it is the requirement. It is the same thing as you think about, you don't need the same clothes everywhere you go, you use different clothes. So the perispirit also will evolve towards that. If you think in that way, there's nothing supernatural or extraordinary about spirit manifestations. Because when we understand that the perispirit is key on that equation, it becomes a physical, it's a natural law. It's nothing out of ordinary. And because it's nothing out of ordinary, it has been happening throughout history. If you think about the old prophets in Moses, the apostles, in a way, all of them experienced this communication with the spirits. We just didn't know enough to translate this into something more science-based or understand it more how it happens, on what are the conditions under which it happens. And for that, Spiritism, there's an entire book that Kardec has, together with the spirits, written, that is the Medium's book. And in some language, we call it in Spiritism the mediumship. In some other cultures, they call the psyches, a word that I don't like very much. So I'll continue to use mediums and mediumship, because it's a medium is the way, the connector that connects one word to the other. That is this way of translating one word to the other. And in this medium book, Kardec, together with the spirits, explain a lot under what conditions and how this phenomena happens. So throughout all the other books as well. One of the things is to understand mediumship, and on your question, David, on what under what conditions does it happen? Mediumship stands on a certain organic disposition, and cannot, and therefore, some of us, we can see there are a lot of, we are surrounded by spirits and we can be connected with spirits all the time. But some of us have an organic disposition that allows for certain types of communications to happen, meaning the physical manifestations. I've seen the healers, that is a physical manifestation, or the ones that psychography, that can write or can talk, psychophony, if I'm not mistaken in English. It has been studied, and we have one organ or one gland in our brains that allows for this mediumship to happen. So some of us are gifted to see, hear, and speak, and some of us have this ability in different levels that allow us, some of us, and to to connect better with the spirits through the perispirits. I will stop here because this is something that has been studied more and more in recent years, and there is a lot of research going on in Sirius University on this organic disposition and some interesting findings, I would say. But for now, and for this group, I think it's important to know that it's an ability. And because in its ability, it's not a talent that can be developed in the sense that, of course, we can and should, and I encourage everyone that has the ability to study and act very responsibly and to understand more the phenomena, to evolve morally, to connect in a better way. But it's not something that if you don't have this organic ability, you're suddenly gonna have it next time. It's not an acquired thing. You can develop if you have. Does it answer part of your question, David? Or David, I'm not really sure how to say your name.
Oh, you can call me David. I was more asking about like specifically interaction with matter, and like when because do spirits interact with matter through the perispirit? Is that like a more rare thing? And like when they do it, like why do they do it? And like, is there a certain thing? Is there like are there certain conditions that they do it under?
Yes, I think answering in the three parts of your question is every time the discarnated, let's put this way, all spirits, incarnated or discarnated, act through matter through the perispirit. So even the fact that I'm talking now means that somehow my spirit has this thought that is translating to the perispirit, that is connecting to my brain, my physical brain, and to my vocal cord, so I can speak. Because the origin of my thoughts and my memory of whatever it resides in the spirit and the perispirit. So
Oh, okay, I understand now. Yeah.
Okay, got it. So even the question that you asked me, this phenomena also happened because your brain, your spirit had this question that because these are, think about three layers that, when incarnated spirit, that are strongly interrelated and interconnected like this. It's so fast that we don't actually think about it. But if I break down in milliseconds, my spirits had an idea, that idea translated to my perispirit that is linked, and my perispirit translates this idea to my brain and then to my vocal cords.
Okay.
When there is a disconnected spirit that doesn't have this body anymore, right? So for in the mediumship medianic phenomena, one spirit discarnated that has the perispirit has to connect with a body of another, the perispirit of another incarnated spirit. And because of these organic dispositions, some of us are able to make this connection with the perispirit of the discarnated.
Right. Okay. Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah.
So if I, in a very simple, very crude, and probably not entirely exactly correct, but if to make it simple, is if there is a very discarnated spirit here, and I'm sure there are plenty, that is connecting to my brain because of our organic disposition to talk. So when I give these talks, I'm not my mediumship ability, I would say my organic disposition, mine, Vanessa, I'm an intuitive medium, meaning that whenever I'm giving this talk, I'm pretty sure there's an spirit here, let's put here, with the perispirit that is connecting to my perispirit because of my organic disposition, and that is impacting my physical brain and my vocal cord so I can talk. And translate these ideas from some spirits that are my guardian angel, the mentors of the house, that are helping me whenever I give these talks.
Okay, cool.
And on the rest of your question is, this can happen. One thing is, all of us, all the time, and you gave me, every person in whatever degree is a medium. All of us have this ability to connect with spirits. Some of us have this ability in a different, all of us have some rudiments of it, as the mediums book tell us. But some of us have different abilities in the sense that the organic disposition allows for different types of phenomena. And these are the ones that we call medium in a way, because of the intensity of the phenomena. If you think about very famous, and I was telling my parents yesterday, my boyfriend, his abilities, he's a healer and a medium and a healer, and he can look at someone and see the spirits of the person, see the spirits that are connected, assess the memory, and understand through looking at the very spirit of somebody, of someone in front of him, all their past lives. It's a very unusual, very mediumship faculty, not the one that I've seen in very often. and also the ability to heal. And one day, if we meet, I will show you Elsa saw when he healed my hand, and that was absolutely incredible. I have no scars at all. And some people have ability as to talk, to read, and even some ability that we call physical phenomena. That is probably you and a lot of the ones that are going to listen to us today and in some other days will understand, have heard about the apparitions and the ones that the saints appear somehow physically. And then they say, oh, I've seen Saint Mary, or for instance, in Fatima, I've seen the whole the Holy Mary in Fatima. This is a type of mediumship that we call physical phenomena. That is a lot of mediums will require to donate plasma, some fluids for that. It means a lot of mediums donating fluid for the disconnected spirit at that moment to form a body that is visible. Very rare, very unusual, but it can happen. It's not supernatural, it's just unusual. Because most of the time what mediumship is here for is to console us, is the spirits donating to us. There are many, many reasons why mediumship and the good uses of it. But for us to be consoled by the ones that left before us, for us to console the ones that left before us, because sometimes they need consolation, and then to understand that we still love their care, there's healing. So there's this intuition that brings us news when we need that, or the prophets that brought us a lot of, all of these that the spirits brought to us, and I think every single day. So it's not something for us to play with. And that is one interesting thing. So these physical operations, for instance, just happen whenever they are necessary. It's not for people to play with, to say, oh, I've seen something. No, it has to have good spirits, pure and kind spirits, only do these things for kindness, for charity, for inspiring, for bringing in knowledge. It's not a joke. And if it appears as something as a joke, or we need to be aware. We are not saying that we need to consider that some of the spirits that communicate are of all sorts. And whenever we talk about that, it's necessary to see that some of them are in requirement of our kindness. They are not here to inspire us. They are trying to test us, or they are looking for help a lot of times. They're looking for us to be kind to them. And we're going to talk a bit more. I think now, have I answered all the 3 questions in a row? I think so.
Yeah, thank you very much.
No, it's a pleasure because of the questions. For me and for all of us that are gonna, or our friends that will listen to this and watch these webinars, it makes clear for them, because it's probably questions that someone else has as well. I try to get here some of the questions that are more usual that I receive it through time, but they're good ones. Questions that people have asked me before. Is the medianic faculty an indication of any pathological state or simply abnormal? Sometimes it's called abnormal, but it's never pathologic, in the sense that mediums are some very health. Whoever is a medium and is sick are from other sources. Mediumship is not something that you should be afraid of, that you should think that you are gonna be sick, or if you have any mental state or anything or sort. By the way, some of the most wise, kind people I've met were mediums and very healthy. If you think one that in Brazil that we call Givaldo, unthinkable. He's 95, 96. Elsa will remind me, but he's over 90, getting to 100, very clear-headed, very wise, very kind, medium through his entire life. So you cannot say even Chico Xavier or many, many others that we can think of were extremely, extremely healthy.
Can I ask a quick question about this as well?
Of course.
If you, for example, know someone who's schizophrenic, who's taking medication as well, what do the spiritists say about that? Like, what's the attitude towards that?
I'm not going to go into a lot of details, David, but I think some of the things that are involved in mental health conditions, okay? It is necessary to look for physical help for doctors, because this is a condition. And I'll let Elsa, because she was soaking in getting some points.
And well, it just reminds me that a lot of people now, especially in Europe, outside of Brazil, they have no faith, no religion, or no spirituality, etc. And as you said in the beginning, mediumship is something that is related to the body or the person or the commitments. There are a lot of things that come in the conclusion. And a person starting as a young person, as a child, as a teenager, seeing spirits, hearing voices, talk about this and that. And the mother and the father, they don't want to know nothing about spirituality. They go straight to the psychiatrist. Psychiatrists start with medication, and no one listens properly or talking properly with the teenager, child, and looking for something else, not only medicine and medicals and shocks and hospital, etc. And of course, the neurons can damage of a lot of medicine, a lot of strong medicine, stronger than narco, anything. So, and this can damage the brain, can damage the family, and they think that it's only material brain damage, etc. But beginning with mediumship is not only like that. Can be a case that some adults today, under strong medicine, starting their schizophrenia with mediumship that wasn't heard, wasn't seen, wasn't listened properly, because the parents, they don't want to go to churches or to other, or seek things like that. It's not always, but medicine, strong medicine can help a lot, but also in the beginning, when it's only a spiritual phenomenon, can really damage.
Yeah. And one of the things I also probably I have worked in a group that was linked to a spiritist group that was working together with medicine faculty. And we worked together in the sense of evaluating mediumship faculties at the same time. Whenever it was a case, as Elsa mentioned, that was a mediumship faculty, and that was in requirement of orientation and spiritual support and training, and whenever it was a case of some only physical, and sometimes working together in many mental health conditions, not only schizophrenia. So it was really important, in my personal point of view, very personal, that this, in whatever case, there's the spiritual aspect is taken into account. As Elsa was saying, so you look for churches or whatever source of spirituality and understanding of this communication of spirits.
If you have someone, for example, who's say they've had exactly that happen to them, and then they've been on medication for a long time, or even because a lot of these sorts of people sometimes they get into drugs and everything else. If they have if that happens to them where they've damaged their brain with the medication and other things, what's the best way of like reintroducing them back into like developing their mediumship?
Can I answer, Vanessa?
Yeah, sure, please.
Yeah. Now I'm thinking about David. First of all, the Spirit Center never say to patient or to person or families, stop medicine. Never. Never promise a cure. We will cure you and you will be better again. No, never. Spirituality, healing, prayer helps a lot to diminishes the consequences of schizophrenia, consequences of medicine, or whatever other problem, or drugs, etc. Helps a lot, helps even the spirits that are surrounding this person that is on drugs. And so this is one case. Now, come back to a normal life and being a medium, start again, take age, sometimes 10 years, people are struggling to be free from drugs and never be free from drugs. For sure that the dependency is almost for life. So it's really very careful, drinking alcohol, etc., to be like that, to be really clean, inverted commas, no? But if the person has a strong will, a strong thoughts to be free from that, and they really start to study and knowing the benefits of study and knowing each case, her or his own case, and starting showing interest and changing of behavior, modification family, why not? Why not starting studying and being a good medium at the end? But we never know. I never saw things like that in Spiritism Center.
Yeah. And one thing I think it leads me to whatever it was here that Kardec told us that mediumship can never produce insanity whenever the germ is not there. And he advised us that good sense says that careful management is necessary in every way. And that's why we say we are very careful in bringing the study, bringing the prayers, the healing whenever necessary and possible. But we take this very seriously and following what Kardec told us in the Medium's book, for instance, in many other books. I'll just advance a little bit because there are many other interesting topics here. One of the topics questions is, are all the communication equals? No, they are not. One thing that happened is there's a variety of spirits, right? We are not all equal. We have very different source of intelligence, very different source of morality. So whenever we lose this body, we are not going to communicate the same way. And I don't know what you know. I don't know what Elsa knows. Elsa doesn't know what I know or you know. So all of us will go and communicate in different way toward based on what our intelligence, our development, and the moral that we have in different kinds of ideas. If we are more or less ignorant, have more or less virtues and vice, we cannot fake it. And it's very interesting whenever you see a communication that a spirit is trying to fake and is trying to use words to appear kind and gentle. Whatever happened is at the end of the day, you always pick it up something so that it doesn't tell the entire story. And you say, there's something here that doesn't match the overall thing. So you always pick them when they're trying to appear something that they are not. Same as us. If we try to tell a lie, you keep lying, trying to appear what we are not, somehow we are gonna fail, I would say. And always at the end, you'll figure it out that it's not. So it's the same with the communications. They are very different based on the intelligence and the morality of the spirits that communicate. One other thing is mediumship can produce healing is there is consists in the gift. Healing is a gift that possessed by some people, that by the simple touch, the look, the gesture can heal and cure without any medication. Famous stories on the Bible told that people just by touching Jesus' clothes were healed. It does exist in different levels. It also based on the necessity and the needs of the ones that are to be healed, because all of us need to. I gave the other day a super interesting talk, at least I thought interesting, on making our bodies our friends, because whatever conditions that we have help us on our development, and some conditions or might be there to test us, to trial us. So I'm not saying that we should be willing to get sick or to have anything. On the contrary, we should be keeping ourselves as healthy as possible, and we should be looking for healing whenever we can and should. But at the same time, we have to understand that some conditions of the body are here to help us evolve as well. So the healers will do the best that they can to help, but it does depend as well on the person that is to be healed. But mediumship can produce healing in some cases and forms, and I've seen plenty, and I'm sure Elsa has seen more than me, and all of us will hear stories about people that have been healed. And just to start with the histories of Jesus that produce healing left, right, and center, in many stories that are on the Bible. One thing about this is mediumship, as we said, is a faculty, an organic faculty, and if the healing, the communications, or whatever they do not come from the incarnated spirit that is the mediums, because mediums, as the word said, is the one that create the means, the connection. It's a faculty that they receive freely from God, and they accept it as being the interpreter of the spirit for the instructions, the healing, to show the pathway, the kindness. So in no way or form it should be paid for. In no way or form should the mediums accept fruits of their conception, not their research. It's not about that. It's freely given by Jesus, by God, sorry, freely given by God. So we should be, the ones that have it should be able to freely give it and use that faculty for the benefit of the humanity. Many of the mediums we know have daily jobs that because we live in this world and we need shelter, we need food, we need clothes, and we need to live in this planet. But they do their daily jobs, whatever way or form, and they practice the mediumship freely whenever, as much as they possibly can, but without charging, the good mediums. So this is the indication that we have on Spiritism, that we should never charge or pay for healing or any communication or so, because it's freely given. In a way, it's not out of our, for the mediums, their own, they are not doing something of their own. It's not that on my daily job, I I study, I don't know how many years, and I go there and I do my job, and it's me, it's my intelligence and my effort and the time that I put there. Whenever there is a mediumship, it's not me or anyone. It's the spirits that are helping. And whenever you do in this way, you always attract good fortune on the kind and pure spirits that help us on this journey to do this activity, the mediumship, as much on our own benefit if we act according to this principle. I think that was it on this part. I will stop here for a couple of seconds if there's any comment, any views. No?
Sorry. We can heal ourselves. We can be medium towards ourselves and the healing communication. Because Jesus said, your faith cure you. So it means that we are gifted as well. So if we are not a non-sensitive medium, né? Materialization, etc., with ectoplasm, etc., but we can do something for us, for our family, for our children when they are ill. We can pray, impose our hands or our thoughts. If you don't have arms, that means that you cannot heal. And you can put your face. You can do it for yourself. You can diminish it yourself. We just have it alive half an hour before I came here. I started here. I was in another live with Dr. Katia Marabuco. She is oncologist and she is a surgeon from head and neck around oncology, etc. And she was giving an example of one of her patients that has discovered October last year, a brain tumor, a nasty one. The category was the worst one that didn't respond to any medication or ever. And she went to chemotherapy, radiotherapy, and her face was strong. And now the tumor is gone. All the doctors are really surprised because this kind of cancer didn't respond to this kind of medicine that she went through. So we can be medium, helping ourselves.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, a lot of times it's so interesting. Okay, on the next 5 minutes, I would say, I'll just talk about some interesting questions on the manifestation of the spirit. Some of the questions that when I give this specific talk, people asking me about on these phenomena, communication. One is about haunted places. And I find it super interesting that people think about haunted places. And we have this instinctive belief in this that has in all ages and times that manifestation has happened. The fact of life and the media, the cinema, books throughout history have created this myth, I would say, by what Kardec calls nonsensical stories that we are told in nursery. Reality is that he also there are not such places because he also answered to us that when asked if spirits have a predilection, they prefer some places or the others, they say they are not bound to the earth. They are bound by love. They are bound by not material things most of the time. Of course, the more evolved the spirits are not bound or attached to material things at all. Some of the spirits that are attached, less evolved, are more connected to material things. So the ones that are in a way more connected to material thing may for a time retain a preference for a certain place. And Kardec also say, but those who do so are spirits of inferior advancement. So it might be this, what Kardec calls nonsensical stories told to us during nursery, is that because some spirits of inferior advancement were connected to certain place and some mediums felt their presence. But it's not, it's a story, it's a nonsensical stories. Spirits, the more evolved ones are not bound to these things, and they can go, and it's not that they are in prison. I saw this movie, super interesting, called The Order. It's a movie by Nicole Kidman, that they were bound to that house, that they would never ever go anywhere else. And it's not true. They can go to other places. They're not tied. They're just their advancement. They're probably connected to material things here and the other. The other question that people sometimes ask is if I have to go to the cemetery, whatever the burial places, if the spirits are there. Again, Kardec tells us that the spirit for the memory of the love is the only thing that they value. So because they don't need this body anymore. So Kardec tells us about the love and to pray for I forgot, there's a type here, but we should continue our connection and praying in love for the ones that we love. This is the one thing that Kardec tells us about it in the Medium's book. So these questions about, oh, the communication only happen in this specific place or the other, not really. This is what Kardec tells us about it. And I think that was it I had for today. I don't know if any further questions or comments or topics around this communication I haven't covered. Happy to answer. I think we have a couple of minutes.
Vanessa, I was wondering quickly, if the people that will be watching this video later on, if they want to send any question, they can put in the chat that is there, yeah? Comments, etc., and we can look and respond to them.
Yeah, pleasure too. Yeah, that would be great. That would be great. So we can, anyone that has any questions or comments can include on the chat box there, on the comment section.
David, your turn.
To be fair, I don't have any more questions. To be fair, like I think, yeah, it was very interesting.
Oh, thank you. I think that we can talk about this. There's an entire book, so many other things that we can talk about. Try to keep it short and concise in the main topics. Okay. So if not else, I think
I will stop. Can I?
Yeah.
Thank you.